So how do we then stop this vicious cycle? Because it seems it's a vicious cycle.
We must start here. I've seen, for example, in the Standard today that there is an editorial, and that editorial just scratches on the surface of things. It does not get to the heart of the matter. We must interrogate our moral and ethical values platform as a people.
Okay. Professor, where do you think this journey should begin? Because it looks like everybody has a part to play. We have the faith, we have our religious based organizations seem not to have, imbibed this culture in us. They say charity begins at home. Maybe we need to begin from home.
First of all, let us learn from those who have success. Let's learn from success stories. Let's look at what happened in the US right from the inception when it trickled down to people like Enswar and the New Beginning, the New Deal, and how the industrialization capped up the whole thing, and how the government came in and said, you see, you know what, you are on your own, go work, pay taxes. Go work, pay taxes. Go to hospital, get treatment. Don't pay for treatment because the taxes you have paid come into social responsibility. Let's look at what happened in the United Kingdom. And then let's look also at India. What has happened in India as compared to those two? If you go into India, we have the caste system, the cultural system. Religion prevails. Faith-based institutions prevail. People go through God. Whatever they're told by their spiritual masters, that's what they do. But in this country, where we are today, if you look at the history of migration and tribalism, and this nature of what the colonialists came in to distort our history by bringing in pillars that we are now forced to, then what do you do? Before the colonialists came in, Africans were the most proud people. And you look at the Maasais, for example. A Maasai warrior is a very proud man. They never beg. They never go number two. They believe in their destiny. They believe in their culture. But that was distorted by colonialism to make us become winds of immorality and in terms of begging.
Honorable Sangoki wanted to say
Yeah, because actually ever since the Jubilee administration took over, it have really tried to bring the social protection aspect into our society. The only thing that we are not actually accepting it because we have what we call AGPO, access to government procurement opportunities by persons with disability, youth and women. That means even women have a cut in terms of contracts of the government, which then will economically empower them. There is the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, which take care of the affirmative action group to try and empower them also economically. There is the WESO Fund, which the Jubilee government actually, Jubilee administration introduced, to try and bridge the social gap so that at least there is no, the level of poverty is kind of reduced. And when we do that, there is a possibility of us reducing then this culture of begging. But you know, it is interesting to know that those actually who are perennial beggars, professional beggars, are not actually poor. You find a person begging for school fees or asking you that my wife have just given birth, I did not have money to buy even sugar. And if you see the lifestyle of this person, is economically is not somebody who is poor. And again, if you get your wife pregnant for 9 months, you are prepared. You are supposed to be prepared.
He should have prepared in those 9 months. You saw it coming. Let's look at another story in the Standard, and this is on page 10. I'll start with you, Barack. Raila, have faith in and hope in the Building Bridge initiative. Well, he is urging Kenyans, page 10 of the Standard is urging Kenyans to be patient with the Building Bridges initiative, that as much as there may be nothing that has been seen substantial moving in that end, that Kenyans should be patient. Do you have faith in the Building Bridges initiative?
He says have faith and hope. I have hope, but I don't have faith. I have hope in the sense that I expect that maybe someday we are going to get to know what it is all about. But I do not have much faith, saying that there are so many months later and I have not seen much to call movement. Or the only movement...
What is it that you'd have liked to see by now?
I must understand what it is that people are shaking hands about, that we are celebrating about. We have become a society that seems to be under the spell of parrot whisperers. That when the whisperers whispers, then the parrot also chimes along. And that all of us are supposed to clap and to say this is a good thing because now there's peace, there's tranquility. No society should allow itself to exist at the whims of any 1, 2, or 3 individuals. That when they shake hands, we are supposed to clap and say, glory, hallelujah, now there is peace. That when we see more and more people trooping or seeming to troop into government, we say, glory, hallelujah, now there is peace. It ought to be possible to oppose the government without being violent. It ought to be possible to agree with government sometimes without seeking space and accommodation in that government. The great Mark Twain once said that a patriot is a person who stands with his country all the time and with his government when it is right. So when the government is right, I can say it is right, and I do not need to seek shelter and accommodation in that government. So there are things we don't understand, and they must be unbundled.
Unbundled. Honorable Sangok, are you one who has faith and hope? Do you have both, or do you have one or none?
I have more than both. Faith as well as hope.
And knowledge.
Because for me, before then the golden handshake, we had problem in our country. Apart from the violence that we witnessed and loss of life, we also had a reduce in terms of tourism. We had a reduce in terms of investor confidence, and even donors' confidence had reduced.
And those
now,
are valid
now after the handshake,
mm-hmm.
This is what I expected to see: an increase in tourism, an increase in donor confidence, an increase in the donors' confidence and investor confidence, and that is what I am seeing, and that is what I want, because I really don't have to have something like instead of a handshake is a hard check or something. What I wanted, I expected, is peace in this country, and when there is peace, then I'm satisfied.
What about the other
things?
things?
Those are the whims that I'm talking about.
What about?
We live and operate in a whimsical environment, and our tragedy is multiplied by having leaders and legislators who actually take band-aid solutions to mortal problems and say, now we are happy, now there are more tourists coming now. What are the fundamental issues that inform the perennial disputes and violence that we have? And can they be addressed? And how is this handshake?
And yes, and that's where I was going, Honorable Sangok. The question here being, yes, there seems to be a semblance of peace, but it could be, there could be undercurrents, and the undercurrents are the ones that make us go to war every single time we go to elections. Have those been addressed? Because if they have not, in 2022, chances are we're going to go back where we are. Are we going to wait for another 2 individuals to have a handshake for us to sort them out?
You know, the problem is that most of these political analysts, including yourself, my friend, you people are becoming prophets. And you have now spiritual eyes to see the undercurrent, what is hidden, what is down there.
Okay, so we should sit back and just wait.
No, not sit back and wait. Sit back and enjoy. Because we have seen, because this journey of reconciling Kenyans and solving the problems of historical injustices and this perennial violence after every election year started in 2013 with Jubilee, when we decided that we have to come together, break down these ethnic-based political parties and have parties that have a national outlook. Before that, we had TNA. Everybody knew TNA belonged to Central Kenya. Everybody knew URP is for Rift Valley. Everybody now know that NC belongs to Baluya. Everybody knows. It is not a hidden secret. Wiper belongs to Kamba. Even if you see the members of parliament and MCS, they have, it belongs to a particular tribe. Ford Kenya, everybody knows that belongs to not even a tribe, it's a clan now of the Bukusu. Now, but when we broke down all those small political parties and have a political party that have a national outlook. Now tell me, where does Jubilee belong? We have members of parliament from Coast, from Nyanza, from Western, from North Kenya. We have all over the country. If we have 2 or 3 political parties of such magnitude of having a national outlook, then we have solved all those problems. Because what normally happens is that I come with my ethnic political party.
We are still discussing the same.
No, it is the same thing.
The same thing.
The same thing of the handshake. Now, when
building bridges initiative.
Yes, and that is what because building bridges is building bridges on communities and building bridges on individuals.
All right, let me bring in Professor on your thoughts on this, whether you have confidence, because that's where we started off from, with Raila urging Kenyans to be confident, to have hope, and to have faith in the Building Bridges initiative. As much as there may be the progress that we've seen so far is the handshake, which some have said, yes, it's a good thing. Others are saying it is a good start, but can we move further than that?
Okay, you put me in a very difficult situation, but I will try to mimic. When it comes to the handshake, yes, you have seen the value of the handshake. You have seen corruption coming out of the bag. You have seen lifestyle audit and the consequences and the statements that have followed. But what I don't agree with is the mystery. We need people's participation. We need Kenyans to discuss these things from the local level so that they can know where they are going. We don't want to go back to the wars that we have had before. We can now see a reactionary tandem within the political leadership, and Kenyans now can judge as to who is more corrupt by their reaction to the handshake. That one is true for fact, but let me not speculate. Wherever it is that is seen there, I don't know what it is, but it should be brought out so that we can know the timelines of discussion, rather than having a few hand-picked men whom we do not know their desires and their backgrounds and their duties and obligations. Let things come out and let us know. Kenya is not only a country of cosmopolitan background, but we should not have a few individuals from the royal families coming up to chart the way forward for this.
Do you agree that the handshake was a good place to start?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and then what is it that you'd have expected to see by now, so that we can say that if we don't have hope or we need it unpacked, what is it that is
public discussion? Let people discuss what the handshake
like
is,
we're discussing
and let
right
us
now.
have the way forward so that people can actually be included. Be told this is what we want. They come in, they say we don't want this. The same way it happens in the UK, where we don't have a constitution, but the royal prerogatives come in where Her Majesty's minister is given powers to legislate on behalf of the citizen. But he cannot legislate until he goes back to put points in what we call social community.
You know what I'm hearing? What I'm hearing is that they expected the handshake to be devolved and that there be discussions. But that is exactly what we are doing. And that is exactly what Kenyans are doing everywhere. In every church service now, people are discussing about the unity that have come about because of the handshake. What you should be asking is what really, let us have 1 or 2 points that they really needed beyond the handshake. Because for us, we needed peace. We needed investors' confidence. We needed economic jumpstart. Because already our economy was on its knees. We needed our leaders to sit down and leave alone this abusive politics that was going around. That is what we needed. And exactly that is what happened.
One area that I can give you that possibly Kenyans are asking, and maybe you could tell us, is electoral injustice. Has that been addressed? We still have an electoral commission which seems to be in pieces and shattered, but here we are saying, let us sit back and enjoy, waiting for 2022. Yet we know they were the very people who made Kenya go back to the polls, according to the...
You know, you should specify, because there is electrical injustices. Which is very...
even.
Yes.
Electrical injustice.
Yes, election, whatever you call it, because you know, Kiingereza yako ni mzuri kuliko yangu, but don't worry. Leo sio mambo ya Kiingereza. Leo ni mambo ya points. One by one. You see? So my friend, there is a difference between that electrical injustices and somebody who will never accept any outcome. Who from 1997, being in the ballot box, I've never said, yes, today I've been defeated fairly. There is always a complaint. So there is those two things that we have to separate. But for me,
what I'm talking about is electoral injustice. And let me ask you this: were you satisfied with the way the elections were held?
More than satisfied.
Despite the fact that they were nullified? by the Supreme Court?
Of course, nullification of the Supreme Court was that the process, some signatures were not put in place and so on. But the issue was that there was no problem with the numbers. And for me, election is about numbers. Yes, that Wanjiku who voted.
Okay.
Did they vote? Were their votes counted? Yes, they were counted. There was no problem with the counting of the votes. There were no mistakes in the number of votes. What was the mistake was rubber stamp and then the voyage in which they were
transmitted. All right, I'll have to pause you now because we need to take a short break and release our KTN home viewers. It's now 3 minutes to 7, but on KTN News we continue with Political Point. And yeah, do stay with us right here. We continue with this conversation after the break.